So I recently picked up this Punisher PCB. It's one of those CPS 1.5 boards there, the gray board. We got it for a really great price. It was untested. I was assuming it was a dead battery. Yeah, these things have actually 2 batteries on them. I've never done a resurrection of these boards here. I'm going to try it out. And the first thing you have to do is take the case off. Right here, there's four little holes. There might be little caps on there. Just pop off. 4 holes. A little bit different than the CPS2, as there's actually little screws you have to take off here that it's attached. You know, I was worried about breaking it because I've never taken the shell off one of these before. But those 4 screws, and then, like I said, there's little screws on the front. You can see it's all original. And you can see the battery on the C board right there. When I booted it up, it just had a black screen. I did some research. It looks like in the dead batteries, it could just be a black screen. Try to get this repaired. There's a website called the Dead Battery Society that has step-by-step directions. I'm going to do step-by-step on video as well because I'm more of a visual person. So if anybody ever wants to try one of these, and it's a little bit harder than the CPS2 to resurrect one of those. I've done a bunch of those, but this one has a little bit more work, a little bit more soldering to do. But you can see it's all original. You know, this is like I said, this is the special CPS 1.5, the battery on the C board. I didn't test it yet, but that's supposed to be for graphics, that battery. If that dies, you got to remove it and do some soldering work. And there's also a battery underneath that B board there that I'll show you later that you have to remove as well and do some work with that as well. So there's 2 batteries you have to remove and some soldering work. Like I said, I'll do a visual step-by-step. And we'll cross our fingers. I hope we can get this up and running. I got it really cheap. I mean, these boards are selling for like $600, you know, on eBay. eBay's a little high, obviously, but I'm hoping that we get this one running. I got it for 150 bucks, so I can't complain. So I'll do it. Start off with the C board first and go from there. So I broke down the board. There's actually 4 boards on this Punisher PCB here, and I'm gonna take the battery off. Here's the C board. We're gonna have to take this battery off. It actually read well. It had 2.9 volts, so I'm hoping it'll still be when I finish it, it'll come back up. We're gonna have to also remove that battery, and then we're gonna have to do some wiring. But I'll show you closer. Cut a couple traces over here and do some wiring. It's actually on the side of the board. Cut a couple of these traces and then put a little wire to here. Yeah, so we're going to do that in a little bit. And then after we're done with that, and then I got to burn some ROMs. After you burn those ROMs, for this board, sometimes you'll see them. They'll have these ROMs, and then it's a different file. But on that Dead Battery Society, they have the files for the ROMs here. I'm going to have to erase those and use the new ROMs, and you'll burn some new ones. Alright, but then after we remove that battery, there's a second battery here on this board. Capcom really didn't want you to copy these boards at all, so I'm going to have to remove this battery, and then we're going to have to do some wiring on the back of the board, and remove some resistors as well. It's not an easy project. It's not, you know, like the CPS2 boards. You just remove the battery, burn a couple ROMs, it's all done. Just when you got to do some fine soldering. We're going to solder a couple of these pins here, and a wire to those pins to one of those resistors. But I'll zoom in close when I get it done. Cut a couple of those traces there to the ground. Alright. Hopefully this works. I'm crossing my fingers. So I'm here with some of the modifications done. I'll start with the C board. First thing I did is I removed the battery to solder it. Battery's right here. It's a pin battery. So that's removed out of there. And then the next thing you have to do, let's see if I get close enough for this right here. There are 2 traces that you have to cut. I see there's a wire in here, but before you do that wire, on pin 45, see how you said 41 is the first one here? On pin 45 and 46, I'll show you over here. See there's a little trace that goes to the ground. Over here, on pin 45 and 46, you have to cut those 2 traces coming from the pin to the ground. So you make sure you cut those. I still have flux on here. I'm going to clean that up a little bit. So there's a little pin. You can see the little trace goes to the ground. The ground would be this here. Right, you see all this metal in here? Just similar to this. See how the pin has a trace? So pin 45, 46, you cut those and make sure that there's no current flowing through those. You can check with a voltmeter. Alright, next thing you do is those same 2 pins, 45 and 46, If you're not good with fine soldering, I'm not very good with it, but it turned out okay. You take a little wire and you solder a wire connecting 45 and 46, which I believe right here, and you solder a little piece of wire connecting 45 and 46, and you run the wire to a 5-volt supply, which this is the closest one right here, so you can connect it right to this pin here. There's a picture on that website as well, the Dead Battery Society. So cut the traces, there's 2 of them. Don't cut the third one. The third one is pin 47, I believe. But 45 and 46. So here's 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, and 46. Cut those traces to the ground. Run the wire. Solder it to those 2 pins, 45 and 46. 2 pins from this chip. To this right here, to this resistor on this side. Alright, so that's the modification for this. And then obviously there's the ROMs that I have to burn later I'm going to do, but I want to do these modifications first. Next we came to this board with the second battery. You can see I removed the battery. After you remove the battery, there are 2 resistors, well, capacitor and a resistor. First one is this R33. Again, that flux I'm going to clean out of here. There's a resistor right here. It's very similar to one of these here. So this R33, you have to remove that out of there, alright? And just leave that open. And then also there's a capacitor here where that C12 is. C12, what you want to do is remove that capacitor out of there. And what you want to do is put a little jumper in there. I made this a little longer, but a little jumper. So where that capacitor was, you put a little jumper in there and connect those 2. Alright, so you remain, the R33 is out. You leave it out. See how it's out? There's no R33. They said I'll clean up the flux later. And then the C12, you remove the capacitor, and then you solder in a little jumper. Alright, so there's no capacitor, just a little jumper. Alright, after you do that, so here's the sound thing. It's called I forget what it's called. It's Kabuki, I think is what it's called. It's actually the sound ROM for these boards here. There's also a ROM here that you're gonna have to burn. So you have to burn a new file. It's on that website I told you, and I want to do that a little bit later. And after you do that, come over here before you put this wire in. On the ROM that you're gonna put in, this is pin 30. This is pin 30 where I soldered that wire. Alright, pin 30 of the new ROM you're gonna put in. There's little traces. See the trace here between this is 31 and 32. 31 and 32. See that little trace there? What you want to do is between pin 30 and between 31, you want to cut that trace. Make sure there's no connection, alright? And check with your voltmeter, make sure there's no continuity. So I cut the little trace. It's very similar to this one here. You cut that little trace, make sure there's no continuity. From there, you solder in a wire from pin 30 of the new ROM that you're putting in, and you put it. I gave myself a little extra wire because I'm not good with this fine stuff here. To the Kabuki, I believe the name is, to pin 27 of the Kabuki. So you can see right there the wire is soldered into pin 27. Alright, this would be 1 to 20. Coming from the other side is 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. So pin 27 of that sound ROM, the Kabuki it's called, to pin 30 of your new ROM with the new file that you have, which I believe is a 27C 020. The one in there is a 010, but their website recommends you use a 020 with their file. Alright, and that's pretty much it. And now I just got to burn the ROMs, throw them in there, put it all together, and hope it works. A little recap here to Phoenix this board to bring it back to life. Gotta do as I said here with the 45, 46 pin, run the wire. I cleaned it up a little bit there. Now you would remove the battery from the C board as well. So battery removed, cut those 2 traces, and run the wire. The C board sits on top of here. What you have to do is I reburned these 3 ROMs here with the files that were on the Dead Battery Society. So 3 ROMs here. You have to pull them off, erase them, and then burn the new ones. Put that back on, so you're done with this part. That's for this battery for the C board. Then you go further down. I removed the battery here. After I removed the battery here, I took those resistor and the capacitor out as I explained earlier. And then I had to reburn this ROM right here. The file again is also on that website. So this one ROM for this board, you have to remove the battery, remove the resistor, remove the capacitor. This is the sound processor here. It's a, I said it's that weird name. It's a Kabuki. What you want to do is make it run like a, you know, like a Z80. So from that, pin number 27 from the Kabuki, you gotta run it to pin number 30 of your new ROM that you just burnt, which was a 27C020. And don't forget that from between pin 30 and 31 there's a trace. You have to cut that as well. So all the work is done here, all the ROMs are burned. I'm going to put it together and see if this board comes back to life. So I got the board all back together, and it went together pretty easy. All the work's done. I put it in my killer instinct cabinet here, and I got the 6-in-1 switcher. So let's see what we got. So far so good. I'm playing with one hand here, so it looks good. I was able to bring it back. It's the first time I ever did a resurrection with the CPS 1.5. A little more work, but definitely worth it. Like I said, I got the board for 150 bucks, and working great. If you have any questions, you can give me a holler. I just want to thank the Dead Battery Society. There's a couple times that I've actually repaired some boards with help of them, so I gotta give a shout out to them. But if you have any questions, just give me a holler. Thanks for watching.